Welcome back.
We're back.
We are looking at the top 4 for the Coruscant Invitational. I am Matt Holland.
And I'm Alex Davey.
And, well, let's talk about the other top 4 match real quick here before what we're going to see on the table.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Empire making it through to the final cut here.
Yes.
We've seen everybody here on stream before.
So Thomas Forstner of the UK, I believe, got Soontir, Redline, and Darth Vader, and he'll be facing off against
Lucas Galanka with the Bomber Swarm that we saw last time on the stream. We also saw Thomas's list take apart Duncan Howard's fascinating Whisper support build.
Sure.
So those two will be duking it out to make it into the finals. But all hope is not lost for the Empire because in the game you are about to see, right, for the Rebels, the game you are about to see features some classic
we've seen these
classic
lists as
OT
well.
trilogy fellas.
So Roger Jeske of Germany, he was a top 16 at the Hanover System Open. We saw him on day 1 flying Dutch, Wedge, and Garvin Dryce in an ARC 170.
Yeah, and he was knocked out of that game by Jesper, but he got a chance for revenge earlier
here
today.
he got his redemption.
They got paired up again, and this time he was able to sneak out that win. So that ended Jesper's undefeated run and has vaulted Roger here into the top 4.
And he'll be facing off against Mankit Lu.
Yep, Mankit Lu. We've seen his list on the stream as well. Super nasty list. Whisper with Juke and Collision Detector. Redline.
Great combo.
It really is. Redline loaded for bear with Trajectory Simulator, Ablative Plating, Seismic Charges, Proton Torpedoes, and Proton Bombs. We saw that build do absolutely devastating work against a Bomber Swarm, throwing Seismic Charges out, blocking lanes, nuking stuff with Proton Torpedoes. Punishers, probably the most improved ship in the game.
And there's a lot of competition.
Certainly most improved in the Imperial faction. I don't think you ever saw a Punisher on a top table
I don't think so.
in 1.0 ever anywhere. Maybe Death Rain in some crazy
Here they go
fluky
kicking
region.
off.
And then last but not least, Major Vermeil with Darth Vader and 000. There's a lot of
Vader,
really
his new
strong stuff in
incarnation, just nasty, kind of chipping away with the damage.
So I've seen Mankit play.
I've seen
Roger play. Walk me through the strategy of Roger's list, and I'll do the same for Mankit's.
So Roger's got Proton Torpedoes on all 3 ships.
Devastating Alpha?
Yeah, he wants to pass that target lock with Dutch, then with Wedge Fire, stacked target lock focus, Proton Torpedo, and locks on the other 2 and just punish somebody before they get to the merge.
Absolutely.
He didn't get that in that first game I saw against Jesper, and that was largely what led to his downfall there. That's pretty obvious. What's the trick here with Redline, Whisper, and Vermeil?
Yeah, you've got a pretty straightforward Rebel list, but with a lot of damage spreading and just some quality pilot abilities. Nothing too tricky, but a very strong list, obviously, and really requires it to be flown well to succeed.
Certainly.
Nice to see a Y-Wing and an X-Wing here in the top 4. That's another thing that we haven't seen too much of
in quite a while.
In quite some time. Mankit's list is really fascinating because he has effectively got a token punishment list. Basically, Whisper has Juke, Major Vermeil can jam, use 000, and use Darth Vader to strip tokens. So Whisper jukes a target, forcing a tough decision. Do you spend that token to stop the damage and then put yourself at risk for all the other effects in this list? If he gets Vader off early on and they spend the token to stop the Vader damage, Juke can come into play.
Sure.
So there's some great synergy there. Major Vermeil, of course, also benefits from a lack of tokens.
Absolutely.
Because he can change a focus result to a hit result if he's shooting against a target that does not have green tokens. So that all synergizes really, really nicely together. 000, of course, another thing that's like, do you spend that token or do you hang on to it? So you have all of these little triggers that force you to do a difficult decision.
Make a
tough
bad
choice.
decision no matter what. He's going to punish it.
Yep, and then you have Redline, who is just loaded for bear. He's in there to really, I think, control swarm builds.
Okay.
I think that if you go up a lot against a ton of ships,
chuck that bomb into the middle of them.
Trajectory Simulator Seismic Charge is a great way to clear out some lanes. It's a great way to get some splash damage. And even against a smaller list, these 3 ships.
You've got to be aware of that proton bomb. Crits,
crits are
can
nasty,
be punishing these days.
and the Rebels are a little bit tooled up against it because they have some shield upgrades. They have more shields than any other faction, but you still don't want, any of your ships taking damage unnecessarily. In a small ship list, you've got to worry about every single bit of health that you have. So those bombs are devastating to swarms, but they're equally dangerous to an ace list. And I think that the Rebels are pretty well equipped to weather a bomb or two, but it's still every point of damage gets you closer to defeat. And one of the things that you really have to worry about is keeping Wedge in the fight. He hits like a ton of bricks, but he's fragile. And pinning Whisper down is not so easy. So I think the big thing is Vermeil can really brutalize this list if the Rebel player allows that to happen. But conversely, with all those proton torpedoes, if you get a nasty alpha strike against these Imperials, they may not have enough ships left to pull off that synergy.
Sure. Yeah, it's really going to come down again. He wants to get all 3 torpedoes off and knock something out, or at least take it down significantly.
And all tournament long, Mankit has been utilizing this Reaper beautifully. This Reaper has been a true MVP. It's kind of nice to see such a challenging ship to fly utilized so effectively. A lot of people sort of discounted the Reaper now that it has some of those, red hard turns and whatnot. But it just goes to show that if you can correctly pilot this ship, it has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. Certainly the combination of upgrades and the list synergy is a big part of that, but he's also using the aileron's ability to really control the speed and power.
It's nice how
Vermeil.
he's able to kind of bring it around the flank because it's a little bit faster than that Punisher and can maintain that nice spacing, but in a nice clean formation turn.
Well, and if you can time your aileron usage right, if you can get stress when you want it, you can really control your approach, because that thing can take off like a rocket, but you can also slow it down with some stress and make sure that you can hang back long enough to engage on your terms.
That's a good point.
Combine that with Whisper's ability to decloak in a very tricky way. Collision Detector allows decloak through obstacles.
Yeah, it's a thing like Leia where it's one more thing your opponent has to keep in mind.
Yep, and you can only do it a couple times per game, but that's really usually all you need. You just need 1 or 2 little tricks there. And keep in mind, too, that Redline's going to be clearing out obstacles as the game progresses to try to get some splash damage on.
Sure.
So this is going to be really interesting. The Empire really wants to close up and, lay some bombs down and avoid those nasty proton torpedoes, especially from Wedge.
Yeah.
Wedge in particular is an extremely dangerous foe right now.
Especially shooting either of those bigger ships, they're going to have no agility dice to defend against a proton torpedo.
Well, and I think the real money shot is
Uncloaked Whisper?
Wedge versus Whisper. Cloaked or doesn't matter if because Wedge's agility reduction is going to put the hurt on Whisper, cloaked or not. But yeah, particularly an uncloaked Whisper versus Proton Torpedo Wedge, you can pretty much take Whisper down in one nasty shot, at least put her in cripple that ship.
Exactly, where she can no longer afford to take the risks that she wants to take.
Absolutely, and if you can manage to get 2 proton torpedoes lined up, you're probably looking at a dead Whisper.
Oh yeah.
So this is going to be, I think, a game that is decided very, very quickly in this first engagement. I would say the first couple turns of combat are going to be extremely decisive here. And that's fun. It's fun to see them get in the mix. And they're not dancing around. Like, we've seen some games where both players...
Just a ton of positioning before the combat starts, but it looks like we're not going to see that here because 3 banks on the Rebels, that's going to be rolling some dice pretty much no matter what the Imperials do.
No, I like this. I really like this play. Now, you want to stay in formation with this Rebel build because of Selfless, because of the way that it's kitted out. But there's a danger to that with Trajectory Simulator. Like, you do not want to take... you don't want to take any bombs if you can help it, and certainly no more than 1, because that starts to really tip the scales.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to just give them the free damage.
Automatic damage is really, really rough. And, yeah, Redline can go down, but as we saw before, Mankit's just got this Punisher in there to do as much damage as possible before it goes out. And if he's trading, if he gets 5, 6, 7 damage out with Redline through a combination of bombs and torpedoes, that's perfect.
He's happy that way.
Take him off the board. No problem. No problem. So the Rebels do not want to do any peace trading here. You do not want to trade one of your Rebel ships for that Punisher. if you can help it. And I think that's what Mankit knows that. Mankit knows that Vermeil is a bully in the mid game and that Whisper is an incredible late game piece. So you've got the Rebels trying to keep Wedge alive. The
Mankit does have
Imperials-
some nice targets for Ion Cannon potentially.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a nice way to tie that to Reaper or that Punisher down if it comes to that.
Oh, you mean Roger?
No, Mankit has targets for Roger's Ion Cannon.
Oh, I
is
see what you're saying. Yeah. Roger can if he ions Whisper, that's huge. It's a little harder to ion those medium ship bases,
But with only one agility,
it's true. The low agility helps, but that's where like Vader and Whisper and Juke come in.
Sure.
Because
make them spend that token.
If you spend those tokens to get those ions off, or if they strip those tokens before you fire, that's going to hurt your offense and your defense.
That's a good
what's
point.
so wicked about this list. And meanwhile, Redline's there to just slam proton torpedoes home and blanket the board with bombs. The other thing that Redline's got going for him is ablative plating. He can fly right into his own ordnance, just right into his own bombs and not worry about it too much. And that can just be that one or two extra health can be all of the difference in a game like this.
Cheap enough.
Yeah, it's a relatively
if it saves
inexpensive
him a damage or
upgrade.
two, that's totally fine.
Absolutely. Certainly less expensive than a hull or a shield upgrade. And more importantly, it protects him from crits.
Yes.
And that sort of effect from the proton bombs.
So Whisper just needed to decide where she wants to decloak. I'm thinking, if anything, it's going to be a decloak away, because you don't really want to toss the collision detector charge right now, and I think you would have to go forward.
I think so.
If you can even clear the Punisher. So does he want to kind of dance further around? It doesn't help him get behind or on the flank of the Rebels, but it does delay Whisper being exposed for a turn.
I do like that Vermeil and Redline brought their little brother along, or little sister along. Look at the size differential on those ships. That's just a funny look.
So what's interesting to me, trying to think of all the games that I streamed this weekend, I don't think I saw much in the way of large bases.
No, we've seen a lot of Lambdas.
That's about the only thing.
There was a Scum Hawk on the
There's a Scum
stream.
Falcon first game.
Or Falcon, rather. But yeah, I think large ships are not the right meta call right now. I think until the points get adjusted to help large ships out a little bit, they are a bit weaker than their medium and small base counterparts at the moment. But that's the beauty of the app. That can and will change if necessary. I think the other part of the lack of large ships is there's some required upgrades. And certainly for the Empire, Ruthless favors lists with a bit more ships in the mix. Some of those large ships, you don't want to eat up the crew slot with Leia or with Boba Fett.
And they may not have the red maneuvers to capitalize on.
Precisely.
On
so I think part of it is Coruscant. I think part of it is we're seeing a specific format here. But I think another part of it is just, large ships really ruled the roost for a while in 1.0, and I think it is going to be a little while before points get adjusted so that they're competitive again. I think.
Well, and if nothing else, people are enjoying the fact that, hey, I can fly these small ships that haven't been competitive, which is why we've seen, stuff like the Bombers and the Punishers, the Y-Wings that hadn't had their time in the sun for a while.
Well, we definitely want to give every ship its due, so I would expect some adjustments to large ships if they don't end up being competitively viable to get them back into the game. Any ships that are a little ahead of the curve may take a hit or two to their points values, but that's what's going to keep this meta interesting and diverse. It's what's going to...
It looks to me that's Garvin and Dutch's locks on the Punisher.
Yes, that is going to be, hopefully,
Garvin
for the
focused.
Rebels. Hopefully for the Rebels, a really nasty Alpha Strike. That seismic charge will go off and hit Dutch. That is going to be very dangerous.
Quite possibly Wedge, too.
Depending on where Wedge goes, If Wedge just decides to eat that damage in order to get the Alpha Strike off, well, I got to say, if you only let the Punisher shoot one seismic charge this game, then you are doing your job as a Rebel player. Now, that is a loaded up attack. If he gets both of those torpedoes off against that Punisher, whew.
That's going to hurt.
Now, that being said, the Punisher's got a few options now. With red barrel roll, they can actually kind of get out of dodge a little bit. So we are going to see how that plays out.
So that was a red coordinate from the Reaper to let Redline focus.
Oh, so Redline also, if he survives, going to be hitting back with a super nasty attack. We're going to see the Ordnance flying, proton torpedoes.
Nice. So focus and then
Shooting through the
Redline's
night.
ability into double target locks. Or one target lock at least. Oh, yeah, I see. One target lock. You may maintain up to 2.
That's correct. Well, and Redline gets to acquire 2. And they can be on the same target or they can be on different targets. So he's got that built-in.
He can acquire 2 if he uses the lock action and then his ability to take a second lock.
Yes.
He instead used his action to take a focus.
Correct.
And then take a 1 lock off the ability.
Yes, that's correct.
So Wedge definitely coming in there. He can fire the torpedo, it looks like.
Looks like. So we'll see.
I almost wonder, is Garvin too far away? He got the lock because of Dutch's ability, so he didn't have to have range to do it.
Yeah.
It looks on the edge.
It's going to be close.
And I wonder if Roger is wondering the same thing right now.
You know, if Garvin doesn't get a shot this turn, he's still there to support other ships. Although if he doesn't get to spend that focus token.
So that was Wedge's lock. Garvin didn't get a lock at all.
Interesting.
Wedge just switched his lock over to the Reaper. Why do you think that Roger did that?
I think he was not entirely sure that he had range on the Punisher. I think that's the explanation there. Unfortunately, it's going to be 2 damage onto the Rebel list from that seismic charge.
Not 6.
Not exactly sure what they're measuring for.
Swarm tactics.
Ah, yes.
Now, quick question though.
So
When you lock,
it's going for red line.
he could say red line, and then if he can't lock red line, he can lock something closer, correct?
Well, you just target lock and then you measure to each target. That's correct.
Yeah, so he would know if he has range or not.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why the switch in targeting priority there, but Vermeil needs to go down too, so.
Yep, so that's the Dutch's proton torpedo, looked like.
Pretty nasty, but not the
Did
nastiest.
not spin his target lock, we will note.
Yep. Which is very interesting, actually.
This would be Wedge's proton torpedo on the Reaper.
Well, that's tasty.
That's pretty fantastic.
And as Wedge Antilles hit crit, crit, crit is
And
no joke.
defense dice at all.
So that's just a crit punched right through. That's no joke. And here we're seeing the power of the Rebel Alpha Strike. There's
So,
really
a direct hit. And then a second crit is a hull breach.
Oh, that is brutal. You know, there honestly isn't a harder hitter than Wedge in the game.
No,
with the
no.
proton torpedo. That is about the
I
nastiest
just can't
fight.
help but feel like that combined with Dutch's attack on one of these ships would have been really, really fantastic.
To try to remove one from the board already.
Yeah, or at least put it.
It's interesting.
very low.
You know, I'm not going to question his decision making too much because he's clawed his way up to the top 4 here, and clearly he knows what he wants to do. But yeah, it is interesting. You generally don't want to switch your target priority like that. And we'll see how badly Dutch pays for being out in the front there. It's already taken some damage. Dutch is going to take a couple hits because of Juke. Juke is really doing work here because, of course, you use those
Yeah, Whisper
tokens.
with Juke is just such
So
a great
mean,
combo.
So very nasty.
So Dutch loses all his shields.
Yep.
Did he have to switch the lock because he declared lock and then couldn't just keep the lock on the same person?
Maybe that's the deal. Right, because if you're acquiring a lock, did he already have a lock there on?
He had a lock on red line already.
That could be the explanation there.
And you can't
maybe-
re-lock someone you have locked?
He maybe forgot that he had a lock already. I'm not really sure. Or maybe he just decided to change his tactics.
Sure.
It's certainly possible that he just saw a shot on Vermeil and decided. Because, I mean, you got to keep in mind, Vermeil's a really big threat.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
They're both really, really big threats. And Vermeil's taking a pounding here. Vermeil is kind of the linchpin to this list, to be honest. Like, if Vermeil
because
gets
of
up in there,
Vader and 000.
because of Vader and 000
and his ability.
In some ways, he is a bigger threat than Redline.
Sure.
because when you combine
He's
Vermeil,
more of a tax on your tokens for sure.
it's a huge tax on your tokens. He enables Whisper in a huge degree. He can jam, which means he can pull those target locks off and prevent proton torpedoes from the Rebels. So honestly, if I'm the Rebels, I want to get rid of Vermeil more than I want to get rid of Redline. Redline's mean.
Sure.
Proton torpedoes are mean, but I've got shields. I've got Hull. I've got Selfless on Garvin and on Dutch, so I can protect. They can protect each other, and I've got shield upgrades. So I'm a pretty beefy Rebel player. Like, that's the cool thing about the Rebel tactics versus Imperials. They can afford to just duke it out, take some hits. They're much tankier than the Imperials have the ability to be.
Looks like Wedge, and that's probably the simplest explanation. When Dutch moved, he could only target lock Redline.
Exactly.
Then when Wedge moved, realized did not have the range to Redline, so changed it over to Vermeil.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that is probably the simplest and cleanest explanation of what happened there. So here,
this is going to be a very interesting
it's going to get
turn.
bloody.
I don't think you want to joust that Rebel list if you can help it. But
I don't think you want to, but I don't know that you can help it.
I don't think Mankit has a choice. And I don't think the bomb...
He's got no ailerons move.
I don't think bombs are going to be particularly relevant here.
Now, Whisper can dodge out and kind of arc in on the side, and that'll be nice, but you're going to really get punished on the Punisher and the Reaper.
Well, and the arc is kind of bringing up the rear there and has a nice wide medium ship firing arc. So Whisper can't get too tricky, and it's a big cone there that Whisper has to avoid. And remember, Phantoms don't want to get shot. They're not that tanky anymore.
It's not like
there's no more advanced sensors, or rather advanced cloaking device, recloaking after the shot. So, 2 green dice, it's not amazing. You got the evade token from your Stygian Array. And if you're at range 3, you've got another green die there. So you're pretty tanky.
Well, the balance that I love with the Phantom now is that
but a proton torpedo is still a proton torpedo.
You've got the evade token, but if you spend it, now you're not recloaking. And that's a really nice piece of design that you guys did, where they have some of that similar ability to what they used to do, but it's reined in an important and meaningful way, while still having a lot of the same flavor and still being cool to fly.
Absolutely. So, Dutch has taken a little bit of damage, but I think that big stack of pain on Vermeil is making the Rebel player feel pretty happy right now.
Yes. It was a hull breach, correct, on Vermeil?
I believe it is a hull breach.
So before you suffer a damage,
everything's going to be
it's a crit.
face up. And that's just
doesn't want that.
Maybe the nastiest crit in the deck for large ships. It is pretty brutal.
He's only got 3 hull left, so I mean, Wedge can very easily take him off the table if he needs to. And green maneuver-wise for the Reaper, he's only got the straights and then the 1 banks.
We got a real trench run feeling going on here. Had to take Garvin in an arc to fit Leia on there, but...
So do you take, with Vermeil, do you just 3 straight and hope you bump / get out of arcs? I mean, the arc 170 is probably going to still tag you, but you could maybe force a bump from Wedge.
So the ailerons are off.
Yep.
Which means it's just a normal maneuver. You
As
want it to be green so you can Vader, ideally. Or is Vader action independent? I can't remember.
I believe he is.
He's just a force point, right? He's not an action requirement.
Yeah, at the start of engagement,
so
choose
Vader
one ship in your firing
doesn't matter. So that'll make the dial a little more flexible. But you still want to get an action if you can. A jam action would be huge. So maybe with Vermeil, as hurt as he is, you just make the sacrifice play.
Sure.
Ram him in there, jam something up, use Vader. You're going to go down, but you're going to try to do some damage before you do.
So
and
Whisper
that protects.
Did dodge out to the left.
As anticipated. That makes a lot of sense.
No surprise there.
Yep. I predict like a very gentle 1 forward or a bank here to keep Whisper on the edge of this engagement, followed perhaps by a barrel roll. Rebels, of course. Classic 1 straight to win for Rebels.
Dutch's turret is facing his left.
It is facing Dutch's left. Yep, so he will not have a turret shot on Whisper if Whisper comes in from that
No, but he can
side.
threaten the Reaper if he needs 1 more damage to finish him off.
Absolutely, and that's very, very, very powerful. And then that target lock passing, we are seeing the Rebel faction identity at play here. We're seeing that synergy. We're seeing that classic token stacking.
Well, and we could
helping your squad mates.
Both Dutch and Garvin have selfless here, so they are there. If Wedge starts taking crits, they can suck them away, even if it's a proton bomb or something.
Yes, that's very true. That is very true.
They have those shield upgrades as well to keep them viable even longer.
And as anticipated, Vermeil just booking it. He knows he's not long for this world.
That was a 3 straight?
Yep.
So a 3 straight will not force a bump from Wedge.
No. But that's
close.
That's as fast as that ship can go.
Yes.
So he did his best there without the ailerons.
And bonus, it was a green maneuver.
Now, if he had the ailerons in play, he could have done a little bit more blocking work there. So that's the tricky thing with ailerons. Like, they're very strong, but they're not always in positioned the way you want them to be.
Well, sometimes you don't want to do it and you have to.
Exactly.
Sometimes you want to do it and you can't.
Yep. That's one of the things that keeps the Reaper balanced.
Yes.
Yep. Now, one of the things that's protecting these rebels against this Imperialist is the fact that they have so much good synergy and token sharing. It's going to be pretty interesting. Swarm Tactics is, of course, a really great tool because if you can remove a ship before it gets to fire, you're in really great shape.
Now, you've got Redline has a lock on Dutch, right?
I believe so, yes.
So no torpedo.
No, range 1 means no torpedo.
This is an engagement that is in favor of the Rebels as far as I see it.
Yeah, so far the Rebels are playing this really, really well. This is, I think, exactly how you want to approach this list. And by hurting Vermeil so very badly in that first engagement, they really have the edge right now.
They can also even slow roll it next turn and avoid a bomb dropped behind the Punisher.
Exactly.
The following turn, then, jump out, do your K turns, come back in.
Yeah, no, the interesting thing about Rebels is they don't have the speed of the Empire. They don't even have the dial flexibility of the Empire, but they have defense. They have beef. And those low-speed maneuvers, if you can use those to your advantage, you can actually outfly those fast ships. This is exactly the kind of situation where you want to be a slow-rolling Rebel player.
Those of you who are asking about the other top 4 match, it is Thomas Forstner of the UK flying Sunter Redline and Darth Vader versus Lucas Golonka of, I believe, Poland with 4 TIE bombers, including Reimer and Colonel Jendon. So that's the other top 4 match. We'll have an Imperial player coming out of that table. This is the Rebels' last chance.
Wow, Wedge not getting the shot on Vermeil, which is probably unfortunate. I would have expected him to move in and try to deal with that. However, if he can lock Whisper here, that is bad news for Whisper.
Eat a torpedo?
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to do. I don't see. He's still thinking about Wedge's action, I suppose. It's a lot to think about because you don't want to lose Wedge by any means.
Yeah, and you're potentially taking all the attacks there.
And when does Vader trigger? Is that the start of the engagement,
start of the engagement phase?
Yeah. So that's a hard question. Do you token up and prevent damage to Wedge, or do you get that torpedo off on Whisper?
You switch that target lock.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not going to do you any good on Vermeil this turn. Honestly, I'm not sure I like this bank. I think a 1 straight might have been a better move here.
1 straight, seal the deal on Vermeil.
Seal the deal on Vermeil. And, move on. Well, Vermeil has what? He's only got 3 hull left?
Still got 3.
So, honestly, maybe he's just counting on
They can
Swarm
probably
Tactics.
kill him.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a risk. But if it works out, it means Wedge is not wasting his shot on a ship that's
target lock
down.
on Whisper.
I like it. Bold strategy. You don't want
maybe
to mess
force
around.
Whisper to not be able to cloak too, if nothing else.
Take the damage, Wedge. He bought himself a hull upgrade, right?
No, so you get
saved him in the other damage.
So Vader
in the other
takes Wedge's shield.
Yep. But Whisper
down 5.
Proton torpedo versus Whisper. That is not what Whisper wants to see.
5 hull on Wedge with the hull
sir.
upgrade.
No, sir.
Or he gets stressed. You get the calculate? Yeah.
Yeah, this is now 000 activating.
You have any ability against a stressed ship? No.
That's nice.
Yeah, I don't think Garvin has the focus to spend.
No, he lost his action this turn, so Garvin's ability won't be in play. But
so Wedge takes the stress, does not give the calculate.
Oh,
I suppose that's smart. He's already taking a range 1 shot from the Reaper.
Yeah, he's going to be able to move, do a blue maneuver next turn, no problem. And he has Leia.
Yeah, I
So
think
Leia's a big.
Leia figures in there.
You
for
can
sure.
Talon roll while stressed, which is super cool. So Leia's a pretty great tool for flipping your formation around. So we're just gonna have
No, I think it's range 1.
we're gonna have some nasty shots from the rebels here. I'm gonna just make sure this range is
What's he measuring?
to see if it's range 1 or 2 for this shot with Garvin. Presumably.
Oh, Storm Tactics Garvin.
Exactly.
Nailed it. I got there in the end.
Huh? Yeah, but it's from the carton, eh?
Okay, then it's range 2.
Yeah, for those asking about Leia, the Coruscant Invitational has a bit of a wrinkle in the rules. Each faction has a required upgrade that they must take based on forum voting,
And they don't pay for it.
but that upgrade is free. So the Empire has a bit more flexible build options because their upgrade is ruthless, which makes their list building pretty wide open. However, the Rebels get a very powerful upgrade for free in this format, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
So Garvin with just one hit.
Wishing he had that focus token.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
so that's not a great start.
That makes the death of the Reaper far from a sure thing.
Well, I mean, this is the risk that you take, right? If you didn't, by taking that shot with Wedge.
Hopefully it pays off with this
We'll
proton torpedo here.
We'll see. So
That's
far,
a
so
good start.
Yeah, that's no joke.
Spin the lock.
Yeah, not
so
bad.
hitting 2 crits.
So there's no way for Whisper to get out of this without taking any damage, but it's going to only be 2.
Yep.
So that's a shield, but it pushes a crit through. Oh no, 2
it's
shields.
both shields.
2 shields, because he didn't re-roll into a hit there. So no damage on Whisper, but taking some shields off is
And,
important.
well, she'll have a chance to shoot.
Absolutely.
She may still get the cloak. Probably will.
Yes, yes. So, I like that shot on Whisper, but I'm not sure it was better than finishing off Vermeil. A PS kill on Vermeil
I'm with you there.
might have been a better choice.
If you ask me.
I mean, I understand the late game threat of Whisper, but if he had been able to delete Vermeil from the board, he would have been.
And I would think a
he
little
would
bit
have been not
differently.
taking any shots in return here.
I would think differently had he committed more guns to Whisper. But
Yeah.
with just the one torpedo against focus, evade, and you don't have stacked offensive actions yourself, so no focus there. I don't know.
All right.
that I
So
love
what's
it.
going through here?
So 2 more on looks like Dutch. Oh no, on Wedge.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yep.
that's painful.
Well, see, here's the thing. Wedge has got the whole list bearing down on him here.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is
I think
pretty
not-
nasty.
I think
don't
not
think
deleting-
Wedge is.
Not deleting Vermeil was a huge mistake.
That's Wedge dead.
Is that it? No, he's got a whole upgrade.
He had 3 hull remaining. He takes.
And the crit.
Oh,
Selfless.
he would be dead if not for selfless.
That's that Rebel upgrade.
Reaper with
That's that
no dice
synergy.
modification, but 4 dice.
Well, he doesn't have no dice modification because he's got Vermeil.
You're right.
I think he's really, unless Dutch can put the hammer down here. Well, what does Vermeil have for health? 1 left? 2 left?
He's got 2.
Can't stop Vermeil. Yeah, I think the
3 hull. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Dutch
I-
can't kill him.
Wedge needed to come in and hit Vermeil. I think that's a huge mistake. That's not going to do it.
So you will. There you go.
Yep.
Take no damage.
I think it may
And now get a
be-
chance to reply.
Unless Wedge gets really lucky here, I think we are looking at.
Ability for now.
So, yeah, ability. He can
Yep.
selfless the 1, but no reason to because.
If he rolls 2 dice,
True.
nope, and Wedge is gone. Yep, I think that was a classic case of splitting your fire too
Yeah.
much. He put a little damage on the Punisher, a little damage on Vermeil,
A little bit damage on Whisper.
That's not what you want to do. Not when you have a powerful Alpha Strike like that. Had he gone 1 straight and simply nuked Vermeil, he'd be in much better shape.
He would have also not been range 1 to red line.
Exactly. And would have been a range 3 shot from Whisper, possibly.
Yeah, yeah.
And he could have gone 1 straight and barrel rolled to put even more distance had he wanted
Sure.
to. So I think that was maybe the game-losing error right there.
Yeah,
shooting
if
Whisper
if he
instead
doesn't
of
turn it
finishing
around,
off Vermeil.
that's going to probably haunt him a little bit.
I mean, that round went so poorly. He barely did any damage. He lost Wedge from full health to dead. I honestly think that might be the game right there, unfortunately.
And in fact, he did the 2 damage to Whisper. That was all he actually got that round.
It's so tempting, right? Like we were saying, a Wedge Antilles range 3 proton torpedo shot. It doesn't get any nastier than that. But that's still no reason to split your targeting priority like that, because then you're just leaving all of the opponent's ships on the board, which means you're rebels. You don't have a lot of agility. You're going to take
And
damage.
you're not benefiting like the Inferno Squad ties are from having these damaged ships around.
Yeah, there's no Sloan.
You just want them
there's
dead.
no. Yeah, you want to take ships off the board. And I think that was a big misplay on the part of Roger, unfortunately.
Now, do keep in mind, Roger flew here from Germany
Oh, yeah.
and is at the end of 2 solid days of X-Wing. If people who are at home are maybe backseat piloting here, you will see mistakes made at an event like this or at Worlds that you just think are completely obvious. But unless you've been in these guys' shoes, top 4 at a big tournament like this, just give them a little bit of a pass, because fatigue is definitely a factor.
Things could have gone differently, right? We talked about how it was a risky move.
Yep.
But had he rolled well with Garvin, had he rolled well
had
with
Whisper
Dutch,
rolled poorly,
and had Whisper, I mean, that could have been very, very different. But I think that's the thing with high-level X-Wing play. I think you only gamble when you have to. And I don't think that was a turn where you had to gamble.
Sure.
I think that was a turn to take the sure thing.
Yeah, I think he had a really good exchange that first turn and then just capitalized on it.
The red dice for the Imperials have indeed been hot as well.
Yeah,
so
hasn't hurt.
You can't fault that. You can't fault that. But that's a shame, because that was such a tasty first combat round for the Rebels, and then it really turned around there.
I don't think Redline has room to 4K and put a torpedo into somebody, does he?
Oh, I doubt it.
It's 4 and it's 5.5. He has some.
But he does have a stop maneuver. Punishers can stop now, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So
although if he stops now, he still can't K-turn like the next turn. So.
No, but what you can do is you can kind of clog up those lanes. But it looks like he's just going to drop a bomb and maybe boogie, or maybe stop. He's got ablative plating, so he can just put it there. I don't know. I don't know if it's the turn for a stop maneuver, but it's interesting. It is interesting.
So the bomb drop there in the system phase, and then a Whisper decloak.
Oh, fuck.
I like Whisper's positioning here.
Oh, what's going on with Dutch here?
4K from Dutch.
Okay.
He's thinking, oh boy, that bomb is a little unfortunate. That's a seismic?
Looks like that looks like a
proton?
Proton bomb.
Okay.
And Dutch is all out of shield, so it's going to be painful. Yeah, I just don't see the Rebels clawing their way back from that. Had Whisper taken a little more of a hit, had there been a crit on Whisper or something like that, maybe. But that was a Leia use, I think, so that it's at least stressless. Is that stressless K-turning? I can't tell.
I think so, but then I'm not sure what the action was.
Rotate arc?
Oh.
No, I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell.
There's a decent chance that could be it.
We'll see what happens. Now, the Rebel player is by no means out of this.
No.
It could turn around. There's a lot of damage on Vermeil and a lot of damage on the Punisher, but it's not looking pretty. You don't want to lose Wedge in one round of combat like that.
So aileron move, and
looks like it is a seismic. Actually, that's going to be a lot better for Dutch, but it is going to put some damage on.
So Vermeil just taken off.
Yeah, it's time to bug out, Vermeil.
Curious, why run? MOV doesn't matter in this format.
I don't think Vermeil had a way to get a shot. Realistically,
No, he couldn't.
So
S-loop?
I think. Well, I don't know. There may not have been room with the obstacles.
He's 4K, isn't he? Yes. He did fit.
He did.
All right.
So I think that's
There's more room than I thought there. That's good.
Part of why Vermeil.
Dutch is now going to be able to eat a proton torpedo too.
Ugh. Yep. That is pretty mean.
So the bomb and the proton torpedo. Dutch has 6 hull.
Yep.
It's going to hurt.
That is going to hurt.
And if that debris blows up, is that going to hit Garvin too? That's close.
Yeah, probably. It'll be close, but it might be in. And that's more damage he can't really afford to take.
If he uses focus, he can give somebody else.
Yes.
Now, Garvin's still pretty beefy. Dutch still has 6 hull. But I think it's that late game whisper that's going to be
Certainly.
the telling factor in this game. So we'll see. We'll see. If either of these ships can get off a nasty salvo, could be
The
in
thing,
decent shape.
Vermeil doesn't get to use Vader or 000 with that just running away maneuver.
I think
Yeah, I don't
Vermeil's
know.
just coming back in. He's playing for time. He's going to come back in. He's going to be able to use Vader at an opportune moment.
Sure.
He's forcing the rebels to spread out their damage all over the place. And that's honestly one of the biggest ways that you can win an X-Wing game.
Yeah.
Make them shoot your ships piecemeal. Don't let them focus anything. Get out when you can. Come in bit by bit. Fly an injured ship away for a turn. Bring it back in when it's not in danger. That's a really high-level strategy to keep your stuff on the board. However, Dutch, I believe, will have a proton torpedo
yeah,
on
it's
Whisper
a damage
here,
on
so-
both.
Yep, that is pretty nasty. But there's an unobstructed proton torpedo coming from Dutch now, and that's not a nice thing. It's not a nice thing to have. We'll see if Redline gets the job done. This could be nasty.
Yeah, I don't see him killing Dutch, but
Could happen. He's got to reroll. There's only 5 hull left on Dutch.
nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
very well could kill Dutch.
Painful.
Very well could kill Dutch here. That'll help. But it still could go horribly awry.
So face down,
And then face up, face up.
stun pilot.
Okay, that's not so
not
bad.
that bad. Damage engine.
Those are actually pretty acceptable crits at this
Yeah,
stage of the
if I'm
game.
Dutch, I don't mind
Yeah,
those compared
yeah,
to
those are
a lot of other
those
options.
are pretty acceptable.
So Dutch down to what, 2 hull?
Range 2?
This is Whisper. Must be.
Is that enough? Might be enough.
Yeah, Jute. That's 3 more, which is
That's a dead Dutch. So without that swarm tactics, taking out Wedge was the power move. Whole list falls apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whole list falls apart. That's very sad. And now Garvin stands alone.
The chat pointed out that had Garvin gotten his action,
He would have had
that
focus.
that first turn, that would have made a huge difference
Yep.
and maybe taken Vermeil off the board.
If Wedge had gone straight and Garvin had gotten to focus, it would have been a very different game.
Yeah.
Very different. I think the Rebels actually had the better approach.
I agree.
I think that it all turned on that one
so
engagement.
this is range 1 on Redline.
Yep.
Redline eats another crit.
Looks
Or,
like
or were
it.
they all crits? Wasn't he? Oh, that's Vermeil. who had it.
Vermeil's got the hull breach,
hull
but he
breach.
wasn't able to put it. See, that's the other thing. That's why I think the range 1 wedge shot would have been, because you could have finished Vermeil off with wedge and then used your other ships
Yeah.
to shoot the other
There's
other
the
squadrons.
possibility that he felt that wedge would be overkill for that, and it's quite possible. But
Better overkill than underkill.
yeah, there is no,
No
kill like
at all.
overkill.
Yep. Definitely. But really, really, really good play by Mankit. Not to take anything away from Mankit because he has done this surgically. He's surgically dissembled these rebels.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's great when you see the Punisher having the room decay turn, getting the bombs off for multiple damage, and both those seismics hit for 2.
Oh yeah.
That's
Punishers are
really
no joke.
sweet application of those tools.
Well, it looks like we're going to have, this is an all-European top 4. We're going to have a European final table, tiny European meta. We're witnessing it firsthand.
The chat indicating that Thomas holds the advantage on the other tables, so that
very
could
interesting.
be our finalists here.
And Thomas is fielding also Redline, correct?
Yes, Thomas is Soontir, Redline, and Darth Vader with
Wow,
supernatural
Darth
reflexes.
Vader final table. It's a bit of a shame the Rebels won't be squaring up against the Dark Lord of the Sith. That would have been a very thematic
So now throwing the proton bomb
final.
out.
Oh yeah. Why not, right?
Yeah, just in case
Keep making Garvin pay.
Arc tries to whip around, it's going to punish him.
I mean, this game is pretty much all over but the crying, but kudos to Roger for playing it out. I think with a tiny, tiny little bit of luck and a slightly different strategy, he could have won this game. Because that opening engagement was textbook Rebel.
Nice, anticipating the bomb maybe, turning away. Not going to get him this time, but now here is the...
But it zones you,
So that's the aileron move, and then
Yep, then he can do a turn if he wants to, or he can just keep slow rolling it. He's not in any rush, but nope,
Yeah.
there's a turn. He's bringing it back in.
he could also one sloop, right?
He could have, but he's going to get the stress so he can slow roll in. He's got no real reason to risk Vermeil at this point, so he's just going to take his time.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
why not? Make sure that
I just get impatient and want to kill things, so I would definitely just sloop and go back in guns blazing.
Is why you fail. No, I'm the same way. I get aggressive.
It's like, I could be sitting down resting for the next game. People are asking what's on that Punisher. The Punisher has Trajectory Simulator.
What doesn't it have is a better
Seismic
question.
charges, proton bombs, proton torpedoes, and ablative plating.
Yep. Loaded for bear.
We've
And
seen all of those
We've seen
used.
Mankit wreck with this Red Lion.
Yeah, we've seen all those used except for the plating. I think he has not come into
Absolutely.
play.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Attempted barrel roll here. We'll see if he fits. Doesn't look like it. So that'll be a failed action. That's interesting. That did not look even close.
It was closer than I thought it looked.
Okay, this one explodes.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yep. Does it hit?
I don't think it hits him.
Nope. Doesn't look like it. So
Whisper.
took a bit of a hit on your ablative plating, but that's why you bring it. That's why you bring that plating.
Hey, and we just said that's the one thing he hadn't used yet. Maybe he heard us. So Whisper's shot, not going to do a whole heck of a lot.
Nope. But again, he's got all the time in the world here. He can bring in
I
Vermeil.
think so.
This one.
He's not taking any risks.
Yeah,
though,
even
right?
if
'Cause why
Redline
would
gets
you?
shot here, he's got 6 hull, so.
Yep. Yep. And that's not a good roll.
Ow.
But he punches one through. Now I got to say the Rebels dice have not been super kind. This
Has not
game.
done him any favors.
Nope.
Although that opening salvo with the torpedoes was very strong, just split between the two medium-based ships.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I mean, Garvin could K-turn?
I still got Leia, so he's got some options.
He's
don't-
used Leia once, though,
And
so
has
I
not
don't
recharged?
think Leia is recharged. I think Leia
Gotcha.
is still 1 or 2 turns away from, yeah, looks like up in the top there. I see a red token still, so one more turn.
That makes sense.
It's just one of those things where now he's down enough, he has to take some risks if he wants to try and dig himself out. I think a K-turn is clear to not get double stressed at least. Yeah, it's unfortunate how having Leia now would be great.
Yeah.
He's got Whisper just dogging him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 4K. I mean, he does just avoid
The double
debris.
stress. Well, that's fortunate. I mean, Garvin's not going down without a fight. He's still got 8 hull. 8 total health, rather. And the Punisher and Vermeil. Actually, you know, everything in the Imperial list is real beat up.
It is hurt.
And that's the thing. Like, I think the Rebels had the damage to take this game. They had the tools. They just spread it out across the whole list. Part of that was Mankit's play,
Yes.
but I think part of that was a bit of a mistake in target priority.
So on the other table, it looks like Lucas is down to just 2 hull on 1 bomber against Thomas's Vader and Soontir. So that is not sounding very good for the bomber.
Well, it looks like we're going to have Darth Vader in the finals of a big tournament for the first time in ages.
That's pretty cool.
I hear some clapping. Sounds like that game may have wrapped up.
Yeah, with only 2 hull, that was not going to take long.
We will report in and let you know where things stand over there. But it looks like an imp on imp final. Haven't had that in ages. Looks like the Empire is currently on the top of the Imperial meta. Now, part of that
Empire Ascendant.
part of that could be the format, right? Because
Sure.
the Scum players didn't have access to Boba Fett Pilot, which is a great counter to swarm lists and just a great ship in general. And adding to that, both the Scum players and the Rebel players were
Have to bring
required to bring crew carrying ships, and that does impact your squad building.
Although
Now,
you've also seen a lot of the Imperial lists that are doing well have crew featuring somewhere.
They do. They do. Looks like Thomas is the winner
Yep.
over on the other table. So it's going to be
Looks like
Imp,
Thomas and Mankit.
Imp on Imp. Red line versus red line. That's going to be an interesting match. So the Bombers got almost all the way to the top, the TIE Bomber.
Yes.
But it looks like the TIE Bombing-er, the TIE Punisher, is going to be what's going into the finals here.
Does that imply there's going to be a TIE Bomber-est?
Though there is a TIE Bomber-est. It's got about 18 of those little
The pods?
Yeah. I
So
think
just looking ahead for this likely next match, the red line we see here on the table is a little bit more loaded up than Thomas's. Thomas only has proton bombs and torpedoes.
Thomas has
No
decided
seismics.
Thomas
and
has decided
no
that he
ablative
wants
plating.
slimmed down ships. He's got Suntir with nothing except ruthlessness, and he's got a trimmer red line, a little more svelte, without the ablative plating or the seismic charges. And then he has a pretty stripped down Vader with just supernatural reflexes and fire control system. Now,
Necessary because that's still an 85-point ship.
Absolutely.
So we've
Darth
got the
Vader
shot
is
here
never
from
cheap.
Whisper. It looks to me like Punisher just wants to set up another torpedo at his leisure. Just a hit crit on Garvin.
Oh no,
And
he
gets
confused. Interesting. Sounds like there may have been some confusion.
Yeah, so
with
the
those
weird bank
dials.
with Wedge may have been
Oh no.
a dial swapping
That
issue.
that is very unfortunate.
If that's the case, that's a real heartbreaker. But
Yeah.
again,
gotta
goes to
play,
show what
gotta
can
play
happen
very
when you're
carefully at this level for sure.
goes to show what'll happen when you're so tired and so just worn down from playing.
Spending the lock.
That was a proton torpedo for not much, and locked into just one crit. Whisper is going to laugh that off.
Yep. Unfortunately. There's a very beat up Imperial list, but unfortunately still has the tools to get the job done here, especially against a single target. Red Leader's not going down without a fight, though.
So the Punisher able to just turn in. It's got a 2-turn. He's still 2 more rounds away from giving a torpedo to Garvin there.
Yeah, but
Whisper's
got all the-
fine doing this
he's
herself.
got 24 minutes left. He's got all the time in the world, and he's sitting on top at the moment. So, even if Whisper goes down, he's still ahead in points.
I just can't help but feel the Reaper could have accelerated this, give Mankit some time to catch his breath.
Well, maybe so, but you know what? He's not taking any chances, and I respect that. You got to have respect for your foe. You never
Very
want to
true.
count him out because you can always roll blanks. Crazy stuff can always happen.
Garvin is he out of torpedoes or does he have one more? He's got one more.
He's got a torpedo left, so he's still a threat. You don't want to take a torpedo to the face with Whisper. Absolutely not.
Clears the stress, takes the stress.
Yep, so he will fly over the debris. Let's see how the dice treat him here. That's not what Garvin wanted to see. Taking a crit. Wounded pilot.
Yep.
Ouch.
That hurts. That hurts.
So now remain stressed. One more crit down to just 5 hull.
Yep.
A lot of crits this game.
A lot of crits this tournament. It's that shield realignment.
Sure.
Not as much safety in X-Wing as there used to be. Even for the Rebels. Even the Rebels got taken down a peg shield-wise.
Well, he has room to turn around. He has the target lock already, so he can turn over the debris if he needs to. And fire a torpedo if there's anything left to clean up at that point.
Yep.
Ah, the boost.
The boost. You don't see it too often,
That
but the
may give him arc right
Punisher does have it. And I believe that will be a shot.
Take another lock.
Does he want more target locks? Why not? Why not?
No.
Nah.
He can't maintain 2 locks in the same thing, can he?
He's decided not to bother. That's fair. Redline can. Redline is the only ship in the game that can maintain 2 locks on the same target. I do believe. Mad respect for all of these players. It's been a long weekend, and they are playing.
So he can have 2 locks. It doesn't say anything about the same target.
Doesn't say he can't, so he can.
Okay.
The I think it's R4 Astromech is the one that, or R3. R3 specifies that they can't be on the same target.
That's what it is.
So it's a blacklist rather than a whitelist kind of thing.
Different from first edition. And there is a torpedo.
Kaboom.
It's going to be 1 crit through for sure.
Garvo.
Plus whatever the oh, man.
Oh, Lord. Well,
Jeez.
Mankit's dice have been hot, hot, hot.
Jeez.
Feeling hot,
So
hot,
2
hot.
face down. One of these is direct hits all over. Or if one was a fuel leak.
Console fire could kick in, though. And blinded pilot. Gross. Gross. Well, Garvin doesn't have any mods anyway. But we'll see. Got a shot at Whisper, at least.
Whisper's cloaked and has an evade.
Yeah, I didn't say he had a good shot. But he might shoot for meal. I don't know what he's up to.
So he's not up against any proton torpedoes left.
You know, console fire does not go off.
Does not kill him.
It's a relief.
Console fire it was. Blinded pilot. Hit crit.
Whisper not even a little bit worried.
No. Nope.
Yeah, if you play X-Wing casually or you play at your local store, a 4-round tournament or something like that, playing something like 12 or more games of X-Wing in 2 days, it is a marathon. Especially with some of the lists we see people flying with these TIE Strikers or Phantoms or anything with a lot of ships. It is just mentally exhausting.
All I've been doing is, talking for 2 days, and I'm exhausted. So I can't even imagine what these players are going through.
Me? Too big.
So Garvin doggedly chasing after Whisper, but she's going to get clear with her maneuver here, and looks like
no real problems there.
Mankit has multiple options to address the arc.
Yeah, and Garvin's sitting on 1 hull, so really this is kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. But kudos to...
Oh, that was the wounded pilot crit triggering.
Oh, sure.
No damage rolled there. Another thing that would have killed.
Yeah, but it looks like
Or
he's gonna self bump, so we can get a shot here with Vermeil. And,
ooh, that is
in
slick.
fact, actually, this could be a tasty finish with Vader. That's style. That's style points there.
Well, he does have a token.
He's got a token
He's got a
that he can
focus.
spend.
Yeah.
He does. That would have been pretty sweet, though.
Hard turn, no crit, so he's fine crossing over the debris.
Sort of combat Vader, you. Oh.
Oh!
And
He missed the focus too.
I get stress, yeah.
000. Boy, that's
000,
rude.
yeah.
I get stress.
No, so no.
these 2.
Denying him all his little tools.
Yeah, but this adds up, You get stressed. You get. It's just a
Where did
mean little combo.
where did the dice go?
Rolled it off the table. Yeah, you can see the fatigue setting in for sure. This is not easy.
Oh. Okay, roll that.
A crit. So I have to roll.
Yeah, if the die goes off the table,
Garvin, there it is. That lost. In a way, Vader did win that game.
by stripping the token.
Really well played, both players. Sounds like there may have been an accidental dial swapperoo for Rogers, so that would have been unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mankit advances to the final table,
I changed the
along with
right
Thomas
dial,
Forstner.
Oh, yeah. We're hearing the explanation here. It sounds like he accidentally swapped his dials. Yeah, that's the kind of mistake that can cost you everything, as we just witnessed.
Yeah, it's definitely a punishing thing
That
to
is,
do
and
there.
that is a
at top 4.
heartbreaker. But there's really nothing you can do once you've passed the planning phase and you've seen the opponent's dials.
Yep.
You're stuck with that mistake, and that's just sometimes the way it goes.
It's one of the things where whether you're using the dial upgrade kits, first edition or second edition dials, it is always worth double checking that you've got things right, especially when you're up at this level.
Now we've tried to make that a little bit easier. We've tried to include all that open information on the dials, and we've labeled the dials now on the front side and everything. But it is still, in the heat of the moment, you've got somewhat similar dials in the X-wing and the Arc there. So
Absolutely,
it's easy to mix them up.
It was a great game. It's nice to see that what we thought was maybe just a misplay,
It was just a straight up mistake.
He caused by the fatigue and the stress of the situation.
He had a great plan.
Yep.
If those dials are reversed, he's doing exactly what we expected.
And so then he tried to make the best of that bad situation.
That's all. And
wasn't able to pull it out.
If the dice had been kinder to him, he may still have had a chance there.
Certainly.
But it was a combination of just a sadly unforced dial swap error, and then really hot dice for the Empire, and some pretty cold dice for the Rebels. So it was just really a perfect storm there, snatching victory away from Roger. But not taking away from Mankit at all. That was an expertly played game.
Oh yeah,
and
no mistakes on his part.
Mankit's the kind of player where you cannot afford to give him an inch, because he will take you down at the knees if you do.
So we'll be back at 4:35. With the Coruscant Invitational final match between Thomas Forstner and Mankit Liu.
Stay tuned. It should be a really interesting one.
Red Lines. We'll see the Major Vermeil and Whisper again. So nice Imperial Ace showdown.
All guts, no shields.
So
the Empire's finest. Stay tuned.